Hello, good evening, and welcome to Fancy Football. And this is the Fanzy Podcast with Omofils and Nonso Arinzeji. Nonso, good evening, and how are you?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm doing good. I'm ready to rumble. Let's have a go. Let's have a blast.
Okay, let's have a blast. Nonso, what is going on in the transfer market now? It's so slow movement. Some teams have not even signed players. No movement from Arsenal, though they've signed a young goalkeeper from Ajax. No movement from Liverpool. No movement from City. They just announced, I think for City, they just announced the signing of Salvinho, the deal that they did before the end of last season. And,
Absolutely.
and around Europe, you look at Spain, no movement from Barcelona, no movement from Atletico Madrid. Also, no movement for Real Madrid, apart from outside Kylian Mbappe and the outgoings as well. Go to Italy, the biggest name out there is Morata. He just signed a 4-year deal for AC Milan. If you go to
AC
Germany,
Milan, yeah.
yes, total silent in Germany. What's going on also?
Come on, let's be realistic. I must first say that teams are struggling financially across Europe. We saw what happened with Barcelona last season, last 2 seasons, and it is rubbing off again in this season. Even Madrid didn't spend that. As I said last season, they didn't even sign a single player. Remember, only that was last season. Last season they got into Bellingham. So financially, clubs are not in as good place as they are. The economy is really touching. They don't have as much sponsors as they would have, and it's affecting the sports in general. Now, go to the Italian Serie A as well. We all know it's well documented on how they had to let go of Ronaldo to balance the books. They couldn't pay anymore. AC now other teams struggling financially, trying to get players from the academy, and of course keep hold of their older players for as long as they can to ensure they can stay afloat. So, same thing happening to the French League. Who is now they are the market of all the top teams in Europe, top clubs in Europe as well. So I think the only team who still kept their kind of mojo or kept their kind of swag in the top football is the Premier League, where you see teams like Everton competing with Madrid for a certain player, and that's the job. But even in the Premier League, see, it's how far you can go. I think the major factor on why teams are struggling, especially Premier League, has to be the FFP, the financial fair play rule, where teams would have to generate money to spend. If that rule wasn't there, I can assure you that the English team will be spending high above the high heavens, and the record fee for a player would have gone up to as much as £700 million, because with the Saudi Arabians and the way they throw this money around, we've seen them in golf, tennis, basketball. They can spend huge money, but they say no, for the sake of the life of that club, because whether you like it or not, there will still be Man City after these Arabian investors are gone. There will always be Liverpool after the Fenway Sports team are gone. There will always be Manchester United, even after the guys running the helm of affairs. I remember their name right now. The team are gone. So they said, okay, teams will not have to generate money to spend, in the sense that you have to make money from your sales of players, make money from your sales of tickets, make money from merchandising, sponsorship, and then you can't even spend all. The rule says you can spend. We've talked about this some points in the show. 70% of your income, 80% in some cases, and then so that 20% can be there to run the club and keep the club afloat and avoid teams going into bankruptcy, just like we saw teams in recent times like Bolton Wanderers and the rest of them. And so teams are very fair. If you ask any owner, and I will tell you, we need to sell. Look at Man United. We need to sell a certain player to buy a certain player. We need to sell, and that's the issue around why the top clients are not selling. First of all, buying from English clubs is not lucrative, because they are one. Even if the English club are very but they want to sell, they are willing to sell. The players' wages could stand as a stumbling block in their movement. Imagine a player taking 400 or 500,000 pounds a week, and you tell him, oh, you agree with the club wants to sell him by all costs and sells him 20 million naira, 20 million pounds, I beg your pardon, even if that's not his value. And then you now want to negotiate with the players, and you're telling the player you pay him 200. You look like why don't I just stay put in the club and not play football for that 2 years and make this money and go home? So that's the high wages of players in the English Premier League. The reason why players are if you check out every player who has left the Premier League has taken a pay cut. Let's do the permutations. They are taking a pay cut, but the ones who are coming to the Premier League are taking a pay hike. And the pendulum would always go that way. If Arsenal wants to buy a player from France, it could be worth 80 million pounds. But a team from French League want to buy that same player, it could be worth 30-20 million pounds because they know that Arsenal has got the firepower, they've got the financial muscle, to pay that amount of money. And if they are desperate, if they get them in the desperate mood or in the panic buying mood, they could even get as much more. So the great thing will always suffer it. This is one of the reasons why when you're one of the best leagues in the world, this is what you suffer. But I think slowly as the transfer window is going, teams will start spending gradually. After all, it's too early days. Forget about Chelsea who have done some deals and Man City like Sevilla who have done deals before the transfer window opens. When it gets the one thing I've learned about winning teams is that even if you have the best of teams, you need one extra player that could just remotivate the player or remotivate the team in the sense that when they come in, there's this new sense of I want to win something. So it becomes that catalyst of driving the player. It's a player like let's assume now for Man City last year it was a certain player who came from the French. I don't remember his name now. The winger Jeremy Doku. He was that man. Who would have thought that with the way Jack Grealish had played, the season before, he will be sitting on the bench. But that is what Man City needed to shift them to the next level. And this is why you need at least some new blood, some new players, one or two before the season starts. And that's what's important. But I think, yeah, exactly. So slowly but surely, they will come around. The teams will start signing players, but let's not expect the fact that the past 2-3 seasons, the Premier League have broken the record for their signings in the summer. See, it's going to be a slow summer. We will not even get to that half mark the way it's going because if you look at the final fair play rule, teams in the Premier League are looking to sell players out of that and clear their books and to buy. Fortunately, like I said, the wages of these players sound like a stumbling block for them moving out to greener pastures.
Okay, so what do you think should be done and going forward with regards to this issue of the slow transfer, the slow business, and since you mentioned that cash in the clubs are drying out, do you think that there should be more investment in the league across Europe?
I think so. But if you think if I tell you I'm not loving the fact that the transfer market is slow, I'm lying to you. Because if we watch the trajectory of European football, the highest bidders, the guys who spend the most money win the league. The last time we saw a fairy tale run was Leicester City. I don't know how that happened. The way they won the league, that team became a supermarket. The way the players dispersed from that team with quick succession, you argue. And these guys are the champions of the Premier League because they're a lower team. They could not compete with the wages with the top class teams. They would go. So maybe this will give rise to smaller teams getting better competition against the big teams. It will also give rise to teams, having a more competitive game, a more competitive edge. It will also give rise to teams also say, after all, it's Man City, and they haven't spent much. They are not better than what they were last season, and they're not even maybe lesser because the players are getting agey and leggy. So we can have a go. So for me, it gets the team, it gets exciting, but we all know what the Premier League is all about. It's about the glitz and the glamour. You want the best managers, the best players, the media hype, and that will make the Premier League what it is. So I think at some point, they will have to find a way around it because if you ask me, Man United want to sell as much as 11, 10 players. How many clubs can pay those players? Except they release them on a free transfer. How many of the clubs can play? That's why you see Varane, free transfer. Check out the players they have left. It's barely free transfer. The reason that they didn't sign Jordi Alba was he took another pay cut.
Varane went on a free. Then
exactly. Those are the players that have left on a free. Marshall too went on a free.
Amrabat had a buyout clause on his contract to move to come back to United, but United have not triggered that.
Now,
Sophia Amrabat, I don't think United will trigger that. There are rumors out there that they won't trigger it. I think so far so good for United. I think they've had close to 8 players leaving the club. 3 of which they sold out outrightly, and the remaining 6.
But how many of them didn't make good money? How many did they make good money? I think the best is Greenwood.
No.
The best is Greenwood.
They got 30 from Greenwood.
Top Greenwood.
Hold on. Let me talk first. Let me have the floor. They got 30 from Greenwood. got third from Willie Camboala, which is definitely 40 million pounds. If you look at, and what else? And then a 500,000 is good deal. Look at it. If you minus what they've spent so far, so good, and with 40 million pounds, I think they're on the right track. And it's not just that. Let's tell ourselves the truth. I think what United are trying to do is that there are players in that team that have huge wages. So if you look at their wages, do you know that for United, Marshall and Varane combined, their wages is 30 million pounds. Take it or leave it. How much have they removed from their wages?
Yes, so I agree with you. I agree with you because
it's not just selling players. What they are doing is also trying to
doing a clear out.
Yes, doing a clear out. So far so good. If you look at what they have removed from their wages, from their wage bill this year now. If you look at it, almost 52 million pounds. Let's forget about what they've sold out. But if you add what they've sold out plus the
I agree with you. 2
million pounds, it's around 80 million pounds they have saved so far so good, or 90 million pounds. So I think
I quite agree with you. I quite agree with you because it's good business, and most of the players that have left were a surplus requirement. The players who hasn't hit the cut at Manchester United, the likes of Marshall, I think who was started the next year already. Absolutely, Marshall was absolutely terrible. Varane is past his best. So let them go, and getting young players. I know it's 52 million pounds spent from him, but I tell you, his wages should not be as that high as Varane or Marshall.
Yes,
because he hasn't got that big name, that clout like those two have as well. So it is what it is. I think
he will only have a 20% pay rise in the next 5 years.
Exactly.
So if you look at, I think it's a good deal, good bargain for them.
So it's a good deal, a very good deal. Maybe the price tag for him is a bit bloated, but the wages is top notch. I agree with the wages. I think that all day long. This was the key as well. It's not a high inner. Because the key is not a high inner as well. We know where it's coming from Bologna as well in the Italian Serie.
Yeah, exactly. So the problem with clubs is that it's not to cough out that money to sign players. The problem is to ensure that they are balancing their wage bill. Because the wage bill is where the problem is, not signing the players.
I'm telling you, if the FFP is not there, these owners can pay the wages. How much was Mbappe making in Paris Saint-Germain? £1 million a week. Is that not tantamount to fraud?
And he's suing them now because they've not paid him. They didn't pay him. He's suing them now because they've not paid him since February. Since he announced that he's going to leave, he's suing them. So
why would they pay him? Why would they pay him? Don't forget, he signed a loyalty. He signed a loyalty deal.
I guess
remember.
There's no loyalty deal.
He did. He did.
There's a 2-year deal.
He did sign a loyalty deal. The 3-year deal. The agent has agreed that he signed a loyalty deal. The issue, the complaint, see, another year. But in that 3-year deal, he was supposed to be loyal. The best he should have done was kept quiet. No, there's a loyalty deal, and his agent has agreed as well. He should have kept quiet on his transfer until the deal runs out. He was not going to sign. Don't forget, that's why the president of Paris, don't forget, was angry, was living with him. That time he came and said he wanted to leave. For a player who signed the loyalty deal.
The president of Paris didn't do well as well.
Al-Khalifi.
Yes.
Both parties had their faults. Both parties had their faults.
Also, do you know that there was some physical altercation between Kylian Mbappe and the president of Paris, which is not supposed to be? It is not supposed to be as a president of the club to physically.
I'm not holding forth. Yeah, I'm not holding forth for Kylian Mbappe.
I think
they will go to court. I think what that they will pay him some part. They will not pay him complete. Al-Khalifi is a shrewd man. They will pay him part. They will not pay him complete. They will pay him something because you know what is. You know if you save 200 million from Kylian Mbappe from February. It's almost that guy was making money that even some business tycoon don't make. And most of the times he was not even playing. Don't forget under Enrique, as a player, Enrique sat him on the bench.
I think Paris Saint-Germain put themselves in this situation that they are in. They knew that
they were desperate to keep him. They were desperate to keep him.
They were desperate to keep him. They knew that they can't compete. Paris cannot compete even with Manchester United. Let me say in terms of if they are on the same page. Let's say if United are in the Champions League, they cannot compete with Manchester United. They not to talk of competing with Real Madrid. They cannot even compete with the likes of City, Liverpool, and Arsenal when it comes to buying players. They can have the money, but in terms of attraction, in terms of what those clubs can give, Paris Saint-Germain cannot do that. Except when they have won the Champions League for the first time. If they could win the Champions League at any moment in their career, then they can hit their chest and say, yes, we can compete with the big boys. But with all those clubs I mentioned,
the issue around Paris Saint-Germain is the owner power. They could pay that amount of money for 10 years, they would have done it. But the owner have realized that it's not a long-term stuff. You know, a team that had Neymar Jr., Lionel Messi, and Kylian Mbappe. Okay, why not take that money and invest on our academy? Get them the best facility, the best infrastructure, and let's grow a team from youth. You know, look at the players in the club. Kolo Muani, a young player, Marco Asensio. Players with Brocola, who I think has been a revelation. That guy has got a bright future ahead of him. So, yes, Goncalo Ramos. I can see that one can be checked because he has not punched the way I want him to punch. Because after what I saw, I wanted to do something, but he didn't touch that line. Maybe his first season Exactly. So let's see what happens this second. Maybe it's first in jitters, but come on, for a team of that magnitude to get to the final without the Messi and the Neymar, they have a plan now. So I think they will settle in court. At some point, they will pay Pape an amount of money, but they will not pay him full. So see, clubs are suffering. Do you know that clubs are hiking the season tickets? They are hiking it right now because they want to make money somehow, somewhere.
Yeah,
because they want to make somehow, somewhere. And you cannot increase the number of your capacity when if you're not going to build a new stadium. So it's just what it is, man.
Okay, going forward now. So I think club have understand that they have to invest in young players, and even the young players are getting much more expensive from other places. I think the next big thing that's going to happen is going back to the drawing board. And when I mean going back to the drawing board, is that go back to your academy. Look for the young young players around 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old that are around your neighborhood that have potential. Or you can go as far as France, as far as South America to get those young players and bring them to your to the academy. Promise the parents of those club of those young players heaven and earth. What I mean heaven and earth is that he will go to school. We'll give you people a house, blah, 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 this. Then I think develop those. That's what is going to happen. That's where I think what football is going to now with this cash trap.
See, this is where football should go to. They don't even need to go and meet the parents of this under 17 or 18 boys. See, this is the owners are the owners of the league. They own the club. They run. See, the owners are the owners of the league. They own the club. They run the league. This is what they need to do. It's very simple. Have a coaches meeting, a owners meeting, a owners consortium. I agree. They were not going to pay a cumbersome amount. Because why the commission is like this? Because if they don't pay, Madrid want to pay. PSG will pay.
Yeah, but
it was one club said this hiking, and now inflation.
Do you know why that meeting?
That's what I'm saying. The owners because of competition. But you know we've seen where it happened. It has happened before, where coaches and players had a consumer agreed on something, and they see the owners are the ones who run this league. Say please, we cannot go beyond the cap of 80 million pounds for a player. Thank you very much. The player will mellow down. The agents will mellow down. Do you know how much agents are making from players? Do you know the kind of, for lack of words, stupid demands these are making on clubs? They're not a top class agent. First of all, you fly them first class. They come around. You take care of their this thing, and when you sign the player, you tell them you give them 20 million for agents for processing the deal, and they will still have a chunk of the deal. And FIFA was calculating. FIFA was released something where they were calculating the amount of money agents make in a year. It is deafening. It is mind-boggling. It has never happened before. Don't forget, as Wenger saw this thing happening 10, 15 years ago, and he was screaming, and nobody was listening to him. Who would have believed it? Arsenal bought how much? Macomas for how many million? Was it then the highest was it 2 million, 3 million? And it was big news. People were inflation. See, the owners of the club allowed inflation to get into the league. Then it got into this Europe. And then now it's not becoming a main thing. You see a 5-year-old boy who kicks about that. You say he has a future. It's like the press. They will not meet the press. Thank God for people like us. But and that issue and that problem will not come. He has the attribute of Ronaldo, Messi, and Iniesta put together. The press now writes a story and hypes, and then you meet the agent. Agent tells you a 5-year-old is worth 20 million pounds. In a raw stage.
We can go on and on and on and on, and then there are different examples on how this thing work, and that's why I said I keep on saying when I'm live on the transfer show, I said the people think that if you just say 50 million pounds for a player, then the club just go in there and pay that 50 million pounds. There are processes, there are stages in the transfer. First of all, you have to agree personal terms with the player. And ensure that the player
exactly
you can balance your wage bill. You look at your accounts and everything, balance your wage. This is what I have for you.
Even the full before I get there, even the full transfer figure, like I know it's 50 million. If you break it down, the club's only making only 30 or 40 million. You get 2 million to his parent club A, parent club B, third party, agency. High.
Some as high as 50%. As higher as 50% of half of the money.
They will not make it look
Calafiori is a typical example. So
how many parties in one player? Like 5 or 6 parties in one player.
No, so we can talk
buy the father house again.
we can talk on this issue, and we won't even feel a bucket of water with all this that we've talked about. But hopefully, our clubs will find a way. Hopefully, the FIFA, the FAs will find a way to see how clubs can be active in the transfer market once again. And we hope that those clubs that are sleeping can wake up and sign players. Thank you so much.
Don't forget, before you go, I don't want to give it. Before we go, Fancy, on my fields, let's give a shout out to Chelsea. I don't know how we are complaining of cash trap, but since Chelsea are not, they are signing players left, right, and center. So big shout out to them as well. I don't know how they are doing it.
Let's not go there. I will tell you how they are doing it, but some other time. So
we know how they are doing it. But let's give a big shout out to them. They are the MVPs.
Shout out to Chelsea. Now do well. Well done, Chelsea. We have to go there. So
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
It's good to have you on the show once more. We'll come back tomorrow on air with more discussion on issues around football.
Absolutely. Hopefully. But then top teams would have signed some players.
Yeah. So before we go, subscribe, like, share on Fancy Football, and you help the channel grow. And thank you so much.
Press the notification bell as well. Yeah. So when we come live. Yeah. Cheers.